What's good? What's good? I'm back. Triple P Paul Pickett podcast. I am your host, the one and only Paul Pickett. We got a lot of topics today. We're gonna actually cover sports, politics, and I got a music topic and a podcasters beefing, YouTubers beefing. Also, I'm gonna be doing an episode later today on my top 10 hip hop albums. Don't forget that Paul Pickett Podcast is sponsored by Promo Palace LLC at promopalace.biz. Check them out for your online marketing and promotion needs. Also, New Litter Apparel at newlitter.com. Check them out for t-shirts, hoodies, shoes, and apparel for your dogs as well. Before we get started, show support. Hit that click now subscribe button in the right hand corner if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, hit that follow. Don't forget the audio version of this podcast goes to Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, Odyssey, Castbox, Deezer, iHeart, Player FM, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Stitcher, TuneIn, and more. Or you can Google Paul Pickett Podcast. You see the name behind me, Paul Pickett. All right, got a few sports things to get into. Number one, Tebow's done. He's been cut, and that's that. But for people that were saying he didn't deserve a chance or opportunity, my take was if criminals deserve second and third chances, by golly, Tim Tebow does. I'm not a religious person, I don't believe in Jesus. I don't pray to Jesus, but I do agree with religion if it makes you a better person. My sister's religious, her husband's religious, and they're decent human beings. So I don't knock religion when it makes you a decent human being or you're really following religion. I really knock the hypocrites in religion. Really, that's who I knock. And, just because I don't believe what you don't believe doesn't mean that you're not a decent human being or I'm not a decent human being. People are not always going to agree with things 100%. So Tebow's done. He got his opportunity. For the people that say he didn't deserve opportunity, well, none of the criminals in sports deserve the second or third chance. Then I don't care how good of a player they were, they're criminals. So that's that. And no more to talk about Tebow. I mean, they sold jerseys. They made money off of it. Pat Beverly gets traded to Memphis. Now, I said last episode that I was talking about Eric Bledsoe got traded for Pat Beverly and Rondo, and one of those guys would be gone. Well, the guy that I said that probably should be a good fit with John Morant to help him out with was Rondo. So Rondo's still there. Rondo might be staying. I think Rondo Memphis is a good fit for John Morant. And Pat Bev he got traded. My bad. I said Pat Bev got traded to Memphis. He actually got traded to Minnesota, from Memphis to Minnesota for Jared Culver afterwards. Now, Pat Bev in Minnesota, I think, is good because you already got Anthony Edwards, who's clearly a good defensive player, plays hard on defense. You needed another defense. That's what Minnesota's been lacking. Minnesota's been lacking defense. They play no defense. Karl Anthony Towns plays no defense. D'Angelo Russell plays no defense whatsoever. They got a bunch of guys that don't play defense or they're not good at defense. So Pat Bev to the Minnesota, I thought was a good move. And Minnesota's about time they made a move. They never make moves, Now Minnesota's got a nice little core four going forward with Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, Pat Bev, and Karl Anthony Towns. Now, the thing is with D'Angelo Russell is he could play two guard because I think he's like 6'4", 6'5". Pat Bev could play point guard, so that could be your backcourt. Anthony Edwards, a small forward, puts Karl Anthony Towns at center or power forward, whatever position he's playing, and then fill the other slot. I mean, that's a decent team, especially with Pat Bev coming in and Anthony Edwards being a year older. His scoring is going to go up. His defense is going to go up. And to be honest with you, Anthony Edwards might end up being the number one guy. I always said Karl Anthony Towns I don't think he could be your number one guy on a championship team. I think he has to be your number two. And that's another thing I wanted to discuss too. While I'm on the point of number twos is Dame Lillard a number two? Is Dame Lillard really a number two? Can he be the number one guy on the championship team? Because one thing I know about NBA history, there's only been two small guys, I think, to lead a team to the championship. Isaiah and Steph Curry. And I want to say there's only been three small guys to get their team to the finals. I want to say Allen Iverson was the other small guy. Small guys don't carry teams to finals. So Dame Lillard might be actually your number two. He might need a wing player, a better wing player to be your number one. So, Karl Anthony Towns, he might be your number two in Minnesota because Anthony Edwards definitely has that I want it factor, the it factor, the I want to be great factor. And all due respect, Karl Anthony Towns of his last year, he he has a valid excuse for last year. I mean, he lost his mom. I want to say he lost two family members to COVID. Um, he had a valid reason. I don't want to say excuse because I don't like excuses. I don't accept excuses, but he had a valid reason. So, yeah, Pat Bev to the T Wolves is a good fit for them. Now I want to get into this. Naomi Osaka cries at press conference, and her agent basically got her playing the victim. Her agent puts out some statement saying that this reporter bullied her. I mean, I'm not gonna play the video, but if you go, I'm about to start doing a lot more React videos. But if you go back and watch the video, it's clearly a lie. It's a false narrative. The reporter was as calm as possible. I mean, just calm, like I am right now. He was just calm. His tone was just very low tone, very calm. And when he asked the question, it seemed like he was very understanding, But she got so emotional off of the question because she got so emotional at the idea that people think she doesn't like the press conferences. Well, guess what? She pretty much said it. She pretty much came out and said she doesn't like press conferences. So somebody asked, if I come out and say I don't like broccoli, and I start crying because somebody asked me, well, it seems like you don't like broccoli. What's up with that? It's nothing to cry over. And this is another, And this is another thing I'm using that men and women are not equal in sports. Because we're not physically equal. And this goes to show we're not mentally equal. Because there is no male athlete in the world that would have cried over that question. I repeat, there was no male athlete in the world, on this planet, in the universe. There's no male athlete on another planet that would have cried over that question. It is complete BS. He did not bully her. I could show you what a bully is. That'd be bullying somebody. If I start pulling a finger and I start He was calm. He asked it in a calm tone. And then she starts crying. Because this is the problem. People want to get upset at anything they disagree with. Anything they don't agree with that doesn't fit in a little box. It doesn't fit in a little box. They want to go against the grain on it. It's like people want to go against me because I said Nas's new album is not a classic. You're a moron, da 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 da. I'm a moron. I have 3 of Nas's albums in my top 10. They're like, you're a hater. That doesn't sound like a hater. But once again, if it doesn't fit in your little box and you don't agree with it, all hell breaks loose. People want to get all emotional and all sensitive over anything that they don't agree with. I could care less if anybody agrees with me or not. I'm not going to cry, complain about it if you don't agree with me. You know, I can only put my information out there, and I can put it at the best of my ability, the best of my knowledge, and the best of my understanding. Sometimes I might say some things that are wrong. Do I intentionally try to lie? No. Do I intentionally try to speak things that are not facts? No, because I'm all about being honest and speaking facts. And I'm one of those people, I don't care. Facts over feelings. I don't care about your feelings when I'm speaking facts. I'm not going to lie to appease you, you know? So that's what Naomi Osaka wants, people to lie just to appease her feelings. I mean, this is very weak-minded way of thinking. People could go bring up mental health issues. I don't. Mental health issues are weaknesses. It's a weakness, you know, and not. I'm not. I don't sympathize with people that are mentally weak. I'm sorry. People can call me whatever they want to call me. You call me any kind of names. I do not sympathize with people who are mentally weak. I'm sorry, man. You know, there's a saying, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. I got hit by a car. Right? When I got hit by a car, I totally discovered how mentally strong I was, how emotionally strong I was, how physically strong I was. I literally got hit by a car, dislocated a shoulder, broke my femur on my leg, and my foot, 5 screws, right on my leg. Had surgery on all 3. I didn't get depressed one bit. I didn't get depressed. I didn't get stressed out. The only thing that really bothered me was I got hit the same day my grandmother died. So I was just like, oh, this is a terrible, awful day. But I wasn't totally depressed. The world was about to end. I I literally they had to literally tie one leg to the other, and that was the first time they ever had to do this in that hospital, Cape Fear Valley Hospital. They had to tie one leg to the other to keep one leg straight, and then they had to untie it for X-rays and tie it back. So they had to move my leg, straighten it out, and everything. I had to deal with extreme pain, no pain pills, none of that. Shoulder dislocated, put me to sleep, pop it back in place 2 or 3 times, it pops back out. I literally had surgery, right? The very next day after surgery, I was in the hospital working on my business, processing orders. So that is why I don't feel sorry for weak-minded people. Because I got hit by a car, literally was working on my business the next day after surgery. The very next day after surgery, I was in the hospital processing orders. Because I have ambition, commitment, dedication, and I am mentally strong and emotionally strong as well. And just to give you some context, my father committed suicide when I was 5 years old. I have never met my father. And yes, it used to emotionally affect me. And I used to be unhappy and depressed. But you, as a person, happiness is a choice because people choose to stress things. Excuse me, got the burp. I choose not to stress anything. IRS sends me something saying I owe money for taxes. I don't care. I'm not panicking. I'm not stressing. I don't stress anything on this earth whatsoever, except somebody stealing my money. That's the only thing I stress. But they got to steal a large amount of my money too. Somebody steals $20, I ain't stressing somebody stealing $20, $50, maybe even 100. You got to steal 1,000. You steal $1,000 from me, I'm stressing. You steal $500 from me, I'm stressing. You know, especially if I'm not getting it back. You know, so yeah, this is just weak mind state. We got to stop it playing the victim when you're not a victim. Um, the guy didn't bully her. That's false. He just asked a simple question and she wants to get all emotional because that's what, people do in society when they're too concerned with what everybody thinks about them. That's another thing. You can't wake up every day worrying about what everybody thinks about you. That's like living life based off of fear. You can't wake up every day worrying about what everybody thinks about you. The only people I really care about what they think about me is my closest friends and my family members I love. If you're a family member I don't care about or anybody I really don't care about in life, I really don't give a rat's ass what you think about me. I know I'm an asshole, but I'm an honest asshole. And I'd rather be an honest asshole than a dishonest nice guy. I repeat that. I would rather be an honest asshole than a dishonest nice guy. Because you can be nice all the while. If you're dishonest, you're a scumbag. You can be nice. You can be the nicest person in the world. If you're dishonest, you're a scumbag. So yeah, there's that. Don't forget, click now, subscribe button. Naomi Osaka cries at press conference playing the victim. It's false. It's fairy tales. It's bogus. It's BS. I'm going to get into, before I get into my last topic, which is going to be a political topic. It's got to do with Biden. Actually, I want to get into this real quick. This musician Salento indicted for murder. Killed his cousin. He's got 5 or 4 felonies. The reason I'm talking about this is because these are the kind of incidents where soon as he gets locked up, you're gonna see a bunch of people talking about free Salento. He killed his cousin. I'm gonna say it again, like I did last episode. Murders going to prison is not justice. You kill your cousin in cold-blooded murder, and you go to prison. That's not justice. And we always like, well, murderers and criminals deserve a second chance. Well, the person that the murderer murdered will never, ever get a second chance. So why the hell does a murderer deserve a second chance? Unless it was self-defense. And when this is self-defense, I don't classify you as a murderer. You killed somebody in self-defense. But a murderer is a person who just kills somebody cold blood. And that's what you do if you kill your cousin. You kill them in cold blood. Because I can't think of any valid reason. As much as I don't really care about my cousin, most of my cousins on my mom's side of the family, I really don't care about, but maybe one cousin on my mom's side of the family. There's nothing that makes me want. There's nothing that would make me want to murder them. They would have to do something like they would literally have to try to kill one of my sisters, or kill my mom or something for me to murder them, or try to kill me for me to kill them. It just, yeah. So I hate it in hip hop. Y'all always talk about free criminals. He killed somebody, robbed somebody at gunpoint, shot somebody. You're talking about free him. For what? He's a freaking criminal. And yes, certain criminals deserve second chances. Not all criminals. Some criminals don't have no remorse. Some criminals are ready to get back out and do the same thing. The guy that got me into rapping was a B&E artist. B&E artist got me into doing B&Es as a kid. And I know for a fact he went to prison for B&Es and he was out doing it again. Like, soon as he got out. So this idea that all criminals deserve second chances. No, that's lies. That's bogus fairy tales. imaginary, made up BS. Because some criminals, as soon as they get out, they're right back doing the same thing. Some criminals aren't trying to fix their lives up. And I understand. I got friends that got felonies. They can't get the jobs they want to get. But guess what? That's what happens when you make mistakes in life. Some mistakes, some mistakes in life follow you forever, forever, man. So yeah, Salento indicted for murdering his cousin. Lock him up and throw away the key, as far as I'm concerned. And anybody I see out here talking about free Salento, you're a scumbag of a human being. You're a pathetic human being. They need to lock you up and throw away the key too, or put you in front of a firing squad and murder you off, so you don't get a second chance. I mean, because murderers get second, third chances, but the people they murder will never ever get a second chance whatsoever. All right, now we get into uh, this album Preach versus Fresh and Fit. This podcast beef. I follow both of these podcasts. I'm subscribed to both. Album Preach, they've been around apparently since 2012. They got about 1.3 million subscribers. They do a lot of reaction videos. They react to a lot of stuff, which is fine because some people just make their living off a reaction. I actually just figured out how to do reaction videos recently, so I'm gonna start doing more reaction videos and whatnot. So Album Preach, they basically do reaction videos and they react to any and everything, any and everything. It could be politics, it could be transgenderism, it could be sports related, relationship related. They react to any video. They see a video, something crazy going on, or just something that don't make sense. They react to it. Now, Fresh and Fit are their podcast. They have usually a bunch of fine women on there, and they talk about relationship advice and how men can relationship advice for men and women, men getting in shape, financial stuff, all types of things. Just a lot of things that are very important for in life. Being fit, finances, and I don't really think relationships are necessarily important in life because I'm single, no kids, got a dog. I'm happy being single. I get up and make money every single day. Um, I'm the only one spending my money every single day. Pay all my rent bills by myself. You know. Um, I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't know that I would ever want a kid. I mean, never ever want a wife, but I would like a kid. And to be honest with you, I don't think I would ever date a white chick or a black chick from America. I think I would only date like Arabic, Hispanics, and Asians. But Album Preach versus Fresh and Fit. So what happened is Album Preach react to some things about Fresh and Fit, and they're not really reacting to both podcasters. They're really reacting to Myron Gaines. Basically, the whole topic was really about him. They didn't even really talk about the other podcaster. So apparently, they give relationship advice and they talk about not paying for, I guess, what they call box. Don't pay for box. They come up with so many new terms. I don't know what it is. So basically, it's paying for escort or paying for sex. Now, apparently, Myron Gaines has this matchmaking profile, which is like for sugar daddies or sugar mamas or whatnot. Now, if you know anything about sugar daddies and sugar mamas, sugar daddy is paying for it, sugar mama is paying for it. Now, before we get any further, I'm gonna give you my take on paying for sex. I'm with Charlie Sheen on this. Like, you're not really paying for sex, you're paying for her to leave. You're paying for no emotional attachment, her not to sit there and cuddle with you and try to talk with you, Like, this is the thing women gotta realize about men. We don't want to sit there and talk to you but for so long about things. That's what we have our male friends for. And that's what you got your female friends for. Like, y'all be trying to come to us and talk to guys about girl things. Guys don't want to talk about girl things. We want to talk about guy things. So we need guys to talk about guy things. So that's my take on that. But Abba Preach, I mean, they talk about anything, reaction, anything. And apparently, I have to agree with Abba Preach on this. Like, Myron Gaines is a little hypocritical on some of these things. Because you talk about you ain't paying for it, this, that, and the third. You know, you talk about high value men, high value women, low value men. Like, if you paying for it, just come out and say you pay for it. Prostitution and escorting has been around since the beginning of the times. Romans times. I mean, before Roman times. It's been part of society. You know, hookers and prostitutes and escorts been a part of society forever, right? Ever since there's been economic economies. Ever since economies have come into play, there's been prostitutions, hookers, and whatnot. Now, so if you're paying for it, pay for it. You know what I mean? Just say you're paying for it. But when you say you don't pay for it and you actually do, that's hypocritical. And I'm with Adam preaching this. I don't like hypocrites. My least favorite person in this world is hypocrites. Now, Adam Preach were basically going in on Myron. They weren't really going in on the podcast. They were saying Myron's kind of hypocritical because he speaks this, that, and the third. Now, the other guy for the podcast, I guess his name is Fresh. You, like, I don't even know what to say about you because you're defending a hypocrite. I don't defend none of my boys that are hypocrites. I repeat that. And any of my friends watching, they know I don't play with that. I'm not going to defend any of my friends that are hypocrites whatsoever. I'm not defending hypocrites. So, Fresh is over there defending a hypocrite. And another thing is, Fresh and Fit made it too personal. It's a podcast. It's a reaction video. It's part of what Abba and Fit do to get views, you know, get followers, subscribers, or whatnot. That's part of their content process. Now, Fresh and Fit took it so personal because they just went in on them. Our podcast is so much better than yours. This, that, and third. You know, it's like, it reminds me of a guy who started working records 3 years ago, and sitting there telling me, well, I'm above you. I'm breaking more artists than you, bigger artists. But I've been doing it for a longer time. You only know what you know in 2 years. I've been doing it for 10 years. Over 10 years. If you've been doing it for 2 years, you only know what you know in 2 years. I've been doing it for a decade. I know it all. And I've done promoted for old schoolers. I done promoted for the baby. I done promoted for businesses and brands. I done promoted for NFL football players, people that were on NBC The Voice, Sing Off, all types of people. You know, like when you've been doing it for a short period of time and you start thinking you're above somebody, your egos are getting a little too big for your britches. Yeah, Fresh and Fit's like, yeah, we're higher than y'all guys right now. But see, Abba and Preach been doing it for a long time. And they're constantly showing up on people's timelines. And yeah, y'all hot right now. But this idea that y'all gonna stay hot forever? No. Because even podcasts have any moments. I mean, look what's going on with Joe Budden podcast. He ain't looking too hot right now. And Rory Maul's coming up pretty fast. But it doesn't mean that Joe Budden won't get to another hot moment. And it doesn't mean that Rory Maul is necessarily going to pass him just because they're moving pretty fast. You know? Like, this idea that you've been doing something for 2 or 3 years and you got seniority over somebody is bogus. you know. And then they made it personal when they called out preacher's wife and his country. Now, if you call out my country, I'm not gonna get emotional about that. I mean, some international people might. Like you call out my country. I don't really get emotional when people say screw America, they hate America. Even with the Olympics when they was, you know, turning their back on the flag, I wasn't all emotional. I was just saying it's hypocritical. You're the biggest hypocrite in the world if you're competing for a country in the Olympics and you turn your back on the flag. And I don't like hypocrites. I would never like hypocrites. So calling out somebody's country, I mean, I don't know if that's something to really get emotional, fight over. But when you call out somebody's wife or family member or kids, that's more than fighting words. People can get killed over that. Like people can get killed over calling out wives and kids and family members. Cause I know if I had a kid if I was married and you called out my wife on camera, with in front of all these followers and subscribers, you called out my wife and talk shit about my wife to millions of people, I'd be at your door knocking on your door the next day. And I'm not a guy, I'm not violent, I'm not big, I'm not strong, I don't physically pose my will on nobody, but there's a difference between right and wrong. And it's like when my uncle put his hands on my sister, I swung on my uncle. Next time I saw him, I swung on him. And as soon as I swung on him, he was talking about calling the cops on me. Mr. Tough Guy used to be there, always talking about beating people up, but as soon as he puts his hands on somebody's sister and they come to put hands on him, you ain't so tough no more. So I'm going to tell you right now, if Preach come knocking on Myron Gaines' door, Myron Gaines is getting his ass whooped. He's going to get beat up. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care how big you are. You talk junk about my family members to that many people and just completely talk junk to my wife or my kids or my sisters or something, talk junk about them. Yeah, I'm coming to pay you a visit, man. I'm coming to pay you a visit, because you got to back up those words. Like, people make things too personal sometimes. So I'm totally with Admiral Preach on this because Fresh and Fit just made it so personal. Now they're trying to apologize. No, it's too late. It's too late to apologize after you talk shit about somebody's wife. They're swinging on you as soon as they see you. That's it. As soon as they see you, they swinging on you. And the fact that y'all got so emotional about it, Fresh and Fit, y'all like the women y'all like the women that y'all kick out. Y'all need to be Frank Castle on your own podcast because y'all getting emotional like the women you kick out. I don't go on a rant and everybody that talks junk to me. I just tell them to kick rocks. I don't entertain everybody that doesn't agree with what I say, that talks junk about me. Sometimes it's not worth entertaining. Unless you're just really, literally bored, it's not worth entertaining. So, yeah, I'm with Admiral Preach on this. Fresh and Fit made it a little too personal. And what's crazy is the other, Myron Gaines is the one that called out Preacher's wife and his country. The other guy didn't really say that. He's just, laughing and smiling up. He's guilty by association. I mean, he looking like a chump right now to me. You defended a hypocrite. And you defended a man that's talking about some other man's wife. You deserve to get beat up just cause too. Just cause you guilty by association, And I don't even know if I could call you a man. Cause you just basically going off of what Myron Gaines is saying and just backing him just cause. Like you can't back people just cause. They gotta be right. If Myron ain't right by making it personal, like when you make things personal, you asking for it. You asking for it. And like I said, talking about somebody's wife, that's not fighting words. That's You could get killed over that. You could get shot over that. If somebody just walked up and shot you over that, like I was like, oh well, so he got what he deserved because you made it too personal, man. You made it too personal. It's just content. It's just content. It's just a podcast. What did Dre said? Tell him, Dre, it's just music. Yeah, you made it too personal, man. Hit that click now, subscribe button in the right hand corner if you're joining us. Before I get into the last topic of the day, y'all need to check out this interview that's, I think, airing tomorrow with KD and Draymond Green, where they're going to be discussing the famous KD and Draymond argument. And basically, Draymond asks him, how much did that have to do with him leaving Golden State? So this is going to be a very juicy interview. And look at this. This just goes to show you, Draymond and him got in a complete argument. They're still friends. They're still buddies. They still could have talked to each other like decent human beings. Like civil human beings. But Fresh and Fit, apparently there's nothing civil about them. I've lost a lot of respect for Fresh and Fit. Because they made it personal. They got too emotional, like the women that they interview. They couldn't be civil about it, whatsoever. Then it's like, if somebody's talking about you and they're not talking about the podcast, why you got to make it personal about the podcast? Now it's my podcast versus your podcast. But I mean, when somebody calls you as a hypocrite, it's time to look in the mirror when you're a hypocrite. That is hypocritical to sit there and say you don't pay for, as they call it, box, when clearly he's paid for box. And then not to mention, I guess he had an email message where he was telling a chick that she can't come on the show unless she lets him hit. Yeah, so we that's what movie producers do, and photographers and models, they use things against people's against their advantage, to try to, get them to do things against their advantage, I mean, that's kind of scumbaggish. Can't come on my podcast unless you have sex with me. So that basically, your podcast isn't really that. It's really not. Everything's not really organic. I mean, I don't even know what to think about that. Telling a chick that she can't come on a podcast unless she has sex with you. When your podcast is basically designed on bringing a bunch of fine women, you never even have ugly chicks on there. That's what I never understood. You only have fine chicks on there, So, but yeah, KD and Draymond, they proved that they could be civil and grown men. Fortunately, Fresh and Fit can't. Abba and Preach definitely can, because they didn't really make it personal, But it's also good for both of their podcasts, too. It's good for both of the podcasts, because it's got other podcasts talking about it. It's got me talking about it. I never talk about other podcasters really too much, All right, let me get to my last topic of the day, man. I don't know. Before I get started, hit that click now, subscribe button, hit the follow. Biden and Afghanistan. I'm a little conflicted on this one. While I do agree with Biden that Afghanistan, these people need to learn how to defend themselves and protect themselves. For the simple fact is, America's not the bodyguard of the world. We're not the world's bodyguard, and we can't be. It's impossible for us to bodyguard the world. So we're not the bodyguard of the world. People in society need to learn how to protect themselves. That's why I went and got a 12-gauge shotgun that just sits in my closet. Never been shot or used. Don't plan on using it, but if I have to, to protect myself, I will. So people in general need to learn how to protect themselves. Yes, Afghanistan after 20 years needs to learn how to protect their country better. Now, I'm conflicted a little bit because Some of the people in Afghanistan want the Taliban to take over, probably half of them, and the other half don't. So I feel sorry for half of the people that don't want that Taliban to take over, because Taliban taking over definitely, like Afghanistan was starting to adopt some things in Western civilization, but with Taliban taking over, those things won't be allowed whatsoever. They're not going to be allowed, because Taliban, they're no different than Christians. They're praying to some imaginary make believe guy, and they let that dictate their whole life. And to be honest with you, they're exactly just like Christians, because Christians conquered people in the name of God, and they conquer people in the name of Allah, conquer areas in the name of Allah. They're both Christianity and Islam are two of the biggest hypocrites on the planet. They're just so hypocritical. So let me get that out the way. So I feel sorry for the people that don't want the Taliban to take over, and the people who do, I don't feel sorry for, because they're just pretty much inviting in dictatorships. Pretty much, that's all it is. And it's a dictatorship that goes off of something that's not even, it's make believe, made up. All religion is made up for control, to control man. You can't tell me otherwise. All religion is made up to control men, to control the large population of men. Islam is nowhere near as old as Christianity. They could try to say it is. No. Islam was not mainstreamed before Christianity. And Christianity was not mainstreamed at the beginning of the times. It was mainstreamed at a certain point. Constantine mainstreamed it through Europe, because Rome basically, this Constantine was ruling Rome, who was a pagan, decided that Rome would be under one religion, Christianity, and he only did that to stop war and division. Control. That's about stopping war and division is about control. Controlling the situation, controlling the population, controlling the narrative. So I feel, and then I do have to say, the way we left Afghanistan, it just looks so pathetic. It is a disaster. I mean, because literally 2 days ago, I was telling my mom 3 days ago that the Taliban has took over like 3/4 of Afghanistan. 2 days later, they literally took over all Afghanistan. It's done. It's over with. In a matter of months, they literally just took over the whole country. And the only way to make it go back is to fix it or reverse it, is you got to go back to Afghanistan. That's the only way. So if we don't ever go back to Afghanistan, this is what's going to be pretty much the everyday life of Afghanistan people going forward. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's very conflicting, because half the country's for the Taliban, the other half's not, and you got people trying to flee. There's so many people trying to flee. You got people falling off of the planes as they're taking off, because they're trying to flee. Those people I feel sorry for, because they're trying to flee for some reason. They have their reasons that they don't want this. They don't want the Taliban to take over. Because Islamic countries don't really have any freedoms, really, is what it is. They have no freedoms whatsoever. The women got less freedoms than any. Women in Islamic countries got less freedom than anywhere on the planet, And I do agree with some of the ideologies Islam has as far as men and women go. Like the relationships between men and women. Like America's has this ideology of this fairy tale marriage ideology that's BS, that doesn't even exist. It's not reality. This love at first sight fairy tales, BS. You know, no man should ever cheat on a woman. Uh, America's the only country in the world where they think that. America's the only country in the world where they agree with that ideology. So if the rest of the world doesn't really agree with that ideology, we're the oddballs. We're the ones that got it all wrong. You know. But yeah, man, Afghanistan does need to learn how to defend themselves. Too late now, because they'll never be able to take back Afghanistan unless you know more than it's going to be take more than America to take it back. It take a couple countries that have to step in to reverse this. So yeah, I think this is unfixable. It's already too late. They can't fight now. They done lost it, you know. But Afghanistan army, I mean, Afghanistan army had like 400,000 soldiers. So it just goes to show you that they pretty much gave the country up, man. They just gave the country up for the most part, you know. That's why I say I'm conflicted because they pretty much gave the country up. They just gave the country up. So half the people want this and half don't, probably. You know, so it's like a 50-50 deal. It's conflicting. Um, do I fully blame Biden for the way this went down? We were leaving out of Afghanistan regardless. That's the one thing that Biden and Trump agreed on. And the only thing I agree with Biden on is that the Afghanistan people did need to learn how to defend themselves and fight for themselves. Because we can't be bodyguards of the whole world, especially for places that don't want us being the bodyguards. They don't want us being the bodyguards of Afghanistan. Not all the Afghanistan people, just some. So there's some places you just can't be the bodyguard of. China, North Korea, Russia, you know, most Islamic countries. We just can't be the bodyguards of all these countries. These people got to learn to be their own bodyguards, defend their own selves, you know. And I hate to say it, but sometimes war is a necessary evil. Sometimes war is a necessary evil. And then people try to say we accomplished. The only thing I don't agree with this idea that we accomplished what we went into Afghanistan to do, based on how we left it, we didn't accomplish shit. We accomplished nothing. We didn't accomplish nothing. We took out the enemies of 9/11. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. Because our enemies of 9/11 supposedly, you know, which I still have my conspiracy on that. I still say that was a demolition drop. I still say that that building was a demolition drop. But, you know, according to the media, you know, our enemies were Afghanistan. Well, we didn't take them out. Because they're the same ones that just took over Afghanistan, according to the media. But, like I said, I've got my conspiracies on that. But yeah, that's the only thing I agree with Biden on. Afghanistan and other countries, period, need to learn how to defend themselves. People in general need to learn how to defend themselves as individuals. The same goes for countries. This idea that it's always somebody else's responsibility to defend you is bogus. It's your life. It's your responsibility to defend your life. It's not the police's responsibility to defend your life. Their job is to protect and serve, but their responsibility is to defend every single life. Because you can't defend every single life. Because especially when they talk about defund the police, you'd have to have a person for every. You'd have to have police on every single corner and every block to defend every single life. But they don't want. They don't want that. They want to defund the police. And defund the police, I hope y'all means less police. When you start taking funds, you know, and all these different places and reverting them elsewhere. You know, it's one thing for you to take funds and, you know, revert them over to some other spot to pay for this and that, but it's another thing when you take funds from the actual labor itself and think that you're still gonna have the same amount of employees or more. No. Once you start taking money out of labor costs, less employees, less workers. So if you start defunding police, less cops. Less cops means more crime. That's just the way it goes. And anybody that thinks otherwise is a moron, a complete idiot. You're a jackass. But yeah, I agree with Biden on his take on Afghanistan. And I do, and I gotta agree with him on saying the buck stops here, even though he didn't. Trump originally started pulling them started the Afghanistan thing. Biden in it. Regardless, I don't think this was going to go well. Taliban was going to take over the country regardless when we left. People want to say, well, we left all this stuff for them to help take over the country. They just literally took over Kabul. They literally walked in, took over Kabul with no resistance. So this idea that all that stuff we left over is the reason they took over Afghanistan is bogus, fairy tales, imaginary, false narrative. Because they literally took over Kabul with no resistance. No resistance whatsoever. But yeah, it's very conflicting. Afghanistan, some people are just like, it's a complete failure. Well, I don't know that we should have been over there in the first place. And if we should have been over that long in the second place. Every time somebody it's like, anytime somebody we know gets into some trouble with some country or somebody does something to us, we always just gotta instantly just go to war. I mean, that's just how it is, man. So, yeah, it's very conflicting, this Afghanistan thing, because half of the people are for the Taliban taking over, half are. I do think that it was going to be a disaster towards the end, regardless. Once we took out all the troops, I think Taliban would have took over regardless. And I do agree with Biden on two things. With him, the fact that he says the buck stops with me, even though he's not to fully blame, he's not totally his fault, because apparently the military leaders could have did a better job probably as well. You know, um, yeah, and that's that, man. So that's like the main thing. Wow, I've actually found something that I agree with Joe Biden on. I agree with Sleepy Joe on. It doesn't mean that I still don't think he's the worst president of my lifetime. I still dislike him as a president. But this is one thing I strongly agree with him on, that Afghanistan and other countries they need to learn how to defend themselves. We can't be the bodyguards of the whole world. We can't. We can't police the whole world. As much as we think we can't police the whole world. You can't even police all of America, you know. So that's that. Once again, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I think we're on episode 47 or 48. We're moving on up like the Jeffersons with these episodes. Don't forget that this podcast is sponsored by Promo Palace LLC and promopalace.biz. Check them out if you need online marketing promotions for your business brand or your music. Also, check out New Litter Apparel at newlitter.com. If you're a cat lover, a dog lover, animal rights activist, you'll love newlitter.com. We got t-shirts, hoodies with cats and dogs on them for you cats and dog lovers. And we also got things for your dogs to wear, like dog bandanas as well. We got cat stuff coming up soon. Also, I want to shout out Dizzle, dizzlebrand.com. Dizzle, a mixture of cognac, agave, tequila, orange liquor, mango mix, and crisp lemon. Check them out at dizzlebrand.com. Follow them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Also, they got a dozen recipes you can check out. Dizzlebrand.com. Also, don't forget the audio version of my podcast goes to Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Deezer, Odyssey, Castbox, iHeart, Player FM, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Stitcher, TuneIn, and more. Woo, this was a nice one. A lot of topics. Salento indicted for murder. I don't want to see y'all out there talking about free Salento. He's a cold-blooded murderer, killed his cousins. Pat Bev to Minnesota. Good look because they needed defense and it's a veteran. Abba Preach versus Fresh and Fit. I got to side with Abba Preach on this. Fresh and Fit just made it too personal. Ego's gotten away. And then they're kind of hypocritical too. So, they'll be getting less views from me. And check out the KD and Draymond interview. That's going to be interesting, nice and juicy. Tebow, done. That's nothing more to say. And Naomi Osaka cries at press conference playing the victim. Stop it. Don't believe it's false fairy tales. You can go watch the interview for yourself. His tone was calm. And when he asked it, it was no aggression. The way he asked it was calm. It was just, stop it, man. Naomi Osaki's agent is a bold-faced liar, people. Bold-faced liar. Once again, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Triple P, Paul Pickett Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Pickett, your source for music, sports, and politics. Peace, and I'm out.